Hi, I'm Rebecca from CQ Sewing in Rockhampton, Queensland, Australia. We're at the start of our free block frenzy for 2016 and today I'm going to show you block 1. We're using the Creative Grid ruler. It's called the lazy angle ruler and we'll be using that throughout the year for every single block. We're using 6.5-inch strips that have been pre-cut, which will be included in your kit. These rulers have grippy dots on the back of them, so it's less likely to slip on your fabric. So first of all, we're going to neaten up one end of our fabric, so we work from a nice straight edge. So I put one of the lines on my ruler, on the bottom of my fabric, and I trim up the edge. It's nice to work with a nice square end of fabric before we start. We turn the fabric around and now we're going to position our lazy angle ruler on top and match up the 6.5-inch straight line on the edge of our fabric. So as I said, the pieces are 6.5 inches wide, and then we simply cut the shape. So this is piece A that we're making. There's a piece A and there's a piece B to these blocks. When we turn the ruler around, we turn it around 90 degrees and then you can match up the shape with the next cut. So the 6.5-inch line goes on the edge of the fabric and now we're cutting the straight edge. So we work our way along the strip, cutting the 6.5-inch shape and turning the ruler as we go. You'll need 4 pieces of the white for this particular block. So we need to repeat the process until we have 4 of section A. Turn the ruler around and cut the second piece. So these are our 4 pieces and this is where they come from in the ruler. One piece that side and the other piece that side. So now what we're going to look at is the 2 triangles on either end of the ruler. This will be piece B. See how they're upside down? One's upside down. So what we do, using the straight edge, we're going to position the ruler on our fabric, which is 6.5-inch cut, and we're going to cut our first triangle piece out. The white dotted lines are your 1/4 inch seam lines. Now we turn the ruler over, so you flip it completely over, and now we're going to match up. Just move the ruler across, there we go, and we're going to put that on our strip, matching up that angle, and then cut our next triangle piece. Have the straight black line on the edge of your fabric, and now we simply cut our next piece out. Flip it over again and cut your next triangle. So this is piece B and we need 4 of these pieces. So there's our 4 triangles cut. Now we're going to cut the grey. So with the grey, we need to cut it from the reverse side of the fabric. So we do our first cut. This will make our triangles mirror image to the red ones. So we have the wrong side of the fabric facing up and we cut out exactly the same way we cut the first lot of triangles, the red ones. Just flip it completely over. Don't turn your ruler around. You just flip it over, line up your angle and cut your next triangle. With the ruler you do get some block ideas which are printed on the front of the ruler and also in the instructions you get with the ruler. So match up that solid line and then cut your next triangle. So then we've got 4 red, 4 grey, and now we're going to cut some black ones. So with the good side of the fabric again facing up, just like we did with the red triangles, we're going to cut piece B and we're going to cut 4 of them. This year we've got 53 ladies and gentlemen registered to do our free block frenzy. We'll be doing a series of 9 blocks, all using this same lazy angle ruler. Feel free to join in. If you're watching this video, you can just choose some fabrics and join in. All our fabric strips are cut at 6.5 inches wide, but you will need to get the lazy angle ruler to make each block. So once we've got all our pieces cut, we're going to start piecing them together. So we're going to start with piece A, which was our first piece, the white one, and we're going to join a red triangle. So right sides together, and you'll notice the tip of the red hanging over the top. We have the tip at the top hanging over and the tip of the white hanging over to give us our 1/4 inch seam allowance, so that'll sit nice and flat when we finish. So we're using a 1/4 inch seam. It's a very scant 1/4 inch seam, so make sure your 1/4 inch is not too wide, and I'll show you how to check that shortly. Stitch all the way to the end. We don't worry about back stitching, and we press towards the red fabric. So we're just going to check our seam allowance now. I've got a 1/4 inch thang here. It's got a guide on the end, which is a 1/4 inch. Now see how my seam is slightly bigger? We need to make sure our 1/4 inch is the same size as our guide. It's a scant 1/4 inch. So you have to be careful you don't make it too big. So once we've determined the right seam allowance, we're going to turn the block over. And again, using the lazy angle ruler, position it on top of the block just like we've done here and match up the 6.5 inch line with the edge of your fabric. So we've got 6.5 top and bottom, and we're going to now cut the angle. Remember, the wrong side of the fabric is facing towards us. So when we turn it over, it's all cut ready for the next piece. So now we're going to add the grey piece. So we simply pop that on and sew it exactly the same way as we did the red and white before. The tip of the triangle hanging over the edge at both ends, and that way it'll sit nice and flat when we press it. Again, you use a scant 1/4 inch seam. So press it out. You notice at the bottom you've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance where the grey and the red meet. So the last step is we turn our block, again using your lazy angle ruler, position it on top and trim it up. So rotate your block, match up your 6.5 line on your ruler and cut off the end. Do this to all 4 pieces, and then we're going to put the black triangle on as the last step. And we sew the black triangle on exactly the same way. So once you've done all 4, lay them out, and this is what our block will look like. Join the 2 together and then the 2 halves together, and your block is complete. It ends up being a 12.5 inch block. So there's block 1 for 2016. We'll see you all again in exactly 4 weeks' time to do block 2. So that's block 1, Free Block Frenzy 2016. We meet every 4 weeks. So in exactly 4 weeks' time, stay tuned. I'll upload block 2. Thank you very much.